We didn't yet get our Nintendo Direct. It's coming. But we might as well have had a partner showcase yesterday with how many games were announced newly for Nintendo Switch. Good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. We're diving into a ton of games that are coming to Switch soon, for the most part, which is really awesome. And I think this is a clever and cool cavalcade of different titles for us to play as we wait for April the 2nd. What's going on, guys and girls? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Hit that like button if you enjoy these videos and if you enjoy new Switch announcements. We've got a bunch to discuss today, so we're going to get into the trailers and into the games. I'm going to start with one that was mentioned at the PlayStation State of Play yesterday, and that is Sonic Racing Crossworlds. Now, Sonic Racing Crossworlds has already been announced. We know that it is coming to Nintendo Switch, but I thought this was pretty sick because it showed off the Crossworlds mechanic, which is a lot like the world-shifting mechanic of Ratchet and Clank on PS5. Now, this is pretty nifty, although I think it is bold as heck for Sonic to try and battle Mario Kart. Maybe they didn't think Nintendo would launch Switch 2 with Mario Kart. Maybe they just wanted to try and see if they could get on the piggyback Mario Kart train. Either way, I think this looks pretty good. The interesting part here is they're showing all Sonic racers, although PR have said that there will be other Sega racers as well. Since this trailer, it looks like the base roster is leaked, and it's only Sonic characters, so it seems like guest characters, Sega characters, will be either DLC or unlockables. Regardless, I think this could be pretty nifty. I like the ability to shift and switch tracks as you go, although it's unclear to me, like, how you switch, how you pick, because it looks like there's like two different ones. Oh, it says the lead racer gets to choose. Okay, I literally just learned that right now. Lead racer gets to choose the crossroad that all players are trying. I think that's sick. I love this. Mario Kart's going to be better. Mario Kart's going to be more interesting. Mario Kart's going to be the game we're all playing, but I'm going to give this one a go because I am no stranger to great Me Too racers. And by that I mean Crash Team Racing, I think, is a fantastic racer. Some of the old Sonic racing games were pretty darn good as well. And even that Disney Speedstorm game isn't so bad if you're bored of Mario Kart. MK will be the king, but Sonic can definitely be, I don't know, at least the Joker, the town jester. Maybe it can even be the prince, but TBD on that. No release date yet, but I'd expect it to come out sometime, I'm going to guess late this summer. Something that's coming out late this week from the State of Play is Warriors Abyss. So this is taking the Warriors genre and turning it into a roguelike. Now, this is a great idea, I think, despite like Warriors games being a dime a dozen. We haven't got a new Nintendo one, a Nintendo themed one in a while, but this looks pretty nifty. I wish there was some Nintendo Switch specific version that gave us Nintendo characters, or at least like clothes or something. So Warriors Abyss launched on PS5 and other platforms yesterday, and it launched in Japan on Switch yesterday, but it's coming to Switch in North America tomorrow, Valentine's Day. So I've heard good things early. It is sort of a mid-tier price game, and it seems like it actually might be kind of nifty, and maybe this is the best way to play Warriors. I hope that if this does well, I hope that if it's fun, that they include this in the next Zelda Warriors game, or Xenoblade Warriors, or Fire Emblem Warriors, wherever we get next on the Nintendo Warriors side, even as a side mode, or as a separate game, or just as like a DLC pack. I think that could be pretty neat. Weird that it's launching tomorrow. Is there going to be some sort of partner showcase tomorrow for Switch? I don't think so. Probably next week, but still cool that we're getting it. And yet still odd that they effectively delayed it a day for Nintendo Switch. Something that didn't get delayed today is Ultros, which got a surprise release on Switch today. This was a PlayStation exclusive until, boom, it popped up on Switch, and surprise, it's a Metroidvania. I feel like 2025 thus far is Metroidvania on Switch. Oh, and then Donkey Kong, which I don't think many people played, and the demo is somehow more perfected than the actual game, which is bizarre as all heck. But Ultros is also bizarre. I've played this one on PlayStation, and it's pretty darn nifty. I don't think it is like, look, I think Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, and Metroid Dread spoiled me on Metroidvanias. I want all my games to be as slick and quick as those two, and this one is definitely not taking as anywhere near as slick or quick of a play style, right? This is much more about exploring, gorgeous art, and melee close quarters combat. It's still pretty nifty, and if you are somehow devoid of a new Metroidvania to play, I'd definitely check it out. It's nice that it's coming to Switch because it was just supposed to be a PlayStation Steam thing. I always like when games like that drop, and this one magically dropped, almost as if we were supposed to have a Direct today. Lost in Random: The Eternal Die is the follow-up to Lost in Random, which was a pretty clever Switch game back in 2021. My goodness, how time flies. That was 4 years ago. So Thunderful showed this off last summer. We knew it was coming to Switch, but they gave us the release date now. So we know, or the release window rather, it's coming this summer. I feel like maybe that's their clever way of saying, like, we're going to launch on Switch 2. Now, granted, this is coming to other platforms, so maybe Switch 2 isn't their target. Yet, given their relationship with Nintendo for Lost in Random, The Eternal Die could be coming to Switch 2 at launch, and I do wonder if this is going to be one of the games that tries to sort of, come on the eShop and say, hey, we got some fun downloadable stuff when you're bored of Mario Kart. So this one is a roguelite isometric title as opposed to Lost in Random being more of a third-person action-adventure title. I think that could be nifty. I also know, just like Metroidvanias, that roguelites are a dime a dozen. So you got to be doing something very distinct and different and unique, and you got to control extra well if you want to grab my attention in either of those genres. I don't know if this will grab your attention, but it's one to watch out for this summer. Now, iRobot is a great movie featuring Will Smith, but it's also a game coming to Nintendo Switch this spring. Jeff Minter is reinventing the 1984 Atari game iRobot and making a new version. If you're not familiar, Llamasoft and Jeff Minter make crazy, quirky arcade titles that usually have all sorts of psychedelic colors and simple game mechanics. This one is going to be not for me. I'll say that much, but it is coming out this spring if you're into sort of these older, like 80s style arcade shooters. And then Monster Hunter Wilds. I wish I was confirming that it's coming to Switch. It's not, but we did get some discussion from Capcom themselves on if Monster Hunter Wilds will be on Switch 2. And it surely sounds like they are just trying to walk on eggshells, walk on Nintendo shells, if you will. What would be the Nintendo equivalent? A Birdo shell, right? Or a Yoshi shell, to try and not spoil the surprise of what could be one of the big titles featured on April 2nd. I really think Monster Hunter Wilds is going to definitely be there on April 2nd. And honest to goodness, like, after checking out the beta, Monster Hunter Wilds doesn't look as good as I would have expected the game to look. So I think it can definitely come on Nintendo Switch 2. No shade to Switch 2, but at the same time, like, that just makes it more likely in my opinion. So this comes from the producer of Monster Hunter Wilds, Ryozu Sugimoto, who says, of course, with relation to platforms for Monster Hunter Wilds, we have nothing extra announced beyond what's already out there, but we're also kind of in the same position everyone else is with the Switch 2. It's such a brand new announcement, and we would need to take time over the coming future to learn exactly the nature of the hardware and how we'll be using it best, and that's something that's going to be in the future for us. So to me, I read this as absolute nonsense. He's acting like they've never touched the Switch 2, which we know for sure, by golly, Capcom has a Switch 2 dev kit. He says it's such a brand new announcement, we would need to take time over the coming future to learn the exact nature of the hardware. But here's what I want you to focus on. I think that part is all garbage and gobbledygook and PR speak, but he says we're also kind of in the same position everyone else is with the Switch 2. And that position is not allowed to say a thing. That's the position that I believe that they're in, and that's the position that I believe he's actually sort of subtly referencing here, that, hey, like, if there is a version of Monster Hunter Wilds for Switch 2, we couldn't tell you about it at all. We couldn't tell you about it anyways, so don't even worry, but we're in the same position. We can't talk about it, so TBD. I do think this game is coming to Switch 2, especially after the partnership bringing Monster Hunter Rise to Switch first as a timed console exclusive, and then eventually moving it to other platforms. But also, Capcom is just a huge supporter of Switch 2. I think Capcom wants to support Switch 2's launch and also try to capitalize on it as well. So this is about as good of a comment as we could have got on the Monster Hunter Wilds front. So still no sign of a Switch Direct of any sort, partner showcase, mini general for February. But that just moves us, I think, to next week. And next week, Nintendo's being really weird. We've got 2 more weeks of February. I'd like to believe it's next week. Maybe it's the week after that. I will say, just to say it, in case it ends up coming true, that people have heard things about a Nintendo showcase. And oftentimes actually, when people hear things about some Nintendo presentation, it's tied to games. And based on today's video, that was a lot of games, right? A new Sonic Racing Crossworlds trailer, Warriors Abyss coming to Switch, Lost and Remnant of the Eternal Die getting an updated release date, Ultros surprise dropping on Switch, iRobot coming to Switch. Is there any chance that maybe they just got their wires crossed? And it was all of these games weirdly dropping on the same day as a state of play, and they thought maybe instead it would have been a Nintendo Direct. Interesting, because the state of play was a Wednesday when a Nintendo Direct should have been. Nobody's made a peep yet that like, oh, all these games are what they heard about. So I still think we're in the clear for a Nintendo Direct in February, but I just want to point that out because this was an odd, just like kind of heaping of Switch games. But the good news is I think we'll have a lot of this coming in the future. Like when things get announced from their platforms, boom, they're going to get announced for Switch 2 as well. So a good showcase for PlayStation, a good showcase for Xbox, probably also in a lot of ways a good showcase for Nintendo in the future, which is something we couldn't say about the Switch and something that I think will really distinguish and be exciting for the Switch 2 era. So let me know what your favorite of today's announcements are. I think for me, Sonic Racing Crossworlds as sort of my like second choice racer is going to be very nifty. I love the first place person earlier on in the race getting some benefit, because think about how many times in Mario Kart you're first in the race, you get blue shelled, and then it sucks. But in this one, at least you get to pick the crossroad that you go to. And I think that could be pretty nifty, as well as a way for you to extend your lead if you're more familiar or prefer a certain raceway. I also am eager to try out Warriors Abyss. I don't really know why, but I think the roguelite style of that game could be cool. In the meantime, everybody, though, let me know your picks in the comments down below. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. And until next time, SwitchForce out.